Hi, I'm Vonda High, and I've been an event planner in New York City for 30 years, and I wanted to share with you how to plan a joyful and perfect wedding. So, welcome to Joyful Weddings. Today's topic is going to be budgets. You can't really start planning your wedding until you have a budget, so that is where we are going to begin. By setting your budget, you basically have two ways of approaching it. You can say, I will spend what I will spend, I know what I want, and what I end up spending is going to be my budget. Not everyone can do that, but some brides can. Another way, and the more common way of approaching a wedding budget, is to say, this is how much money I have. That's a combination of what family might have given you, what you have personally, and you create a budget to spend that amount. On a philosophical note, I think it is important to know that what you spend actually does not affect the happiness or success of your wedding. And I think it's important to know that you should spend within your budget. If you overspend money that you don't really have, that is going to bring attention to the wedding that will make it unsuccessful all by itself, because you will not be happy, you will be tense, you will have expectations that the flowers or the music or the photographer can't possibly deliver on because you know you're spending more than what you have. So let's talk about that budget. The single most important factor in planning your budget is your guest count. Whether you have 100 people or 150 or 450, that obviously has a huge impact on how much per person you are going to spend. So spend some time figuring out what you think your rough guest count is. And if you actually expect 120, budget for the initial purposes at 150 just to be careful and make sure that you have enough money. Your general rule of thumb in creating a budget is that 50% of your budget is going to go to food and beverage. Now, in New York City, what that means is that you have 1 hour of cocktails, 4 hours of dinner and dancing. In California or Ohio, those general rules might be a little bit different. Also, if you're going to have your ceremony on site, that will probably add an hour. You have a half an hour of guest arrival and usually a half an hour of ceremony. If you're in a church or a temple, then that's obviously, you don't have to worry about that. Then you need to ask yourself, do I want a Saturday? Do I want an afternoon or an evening? Do I want dancing? Do I want cocktails? Do I want a plated meal? Do I want a buffet? All of those questions are going to impact the kind of location you're going to and the kind of package and pricing that they are going to offer you. In New York City, a standard dinner package is 1 hour of cocktails, 4 hours of dinner and dancing, and that should include your food, your open bar for 5 hours. It should include wines with dinner. It should include service staff. And most places will also include things like tables, chairs, dishes, linens. Now, some places will not, but you ask questions to make sure that you can confirm the pricing that the sites are giving you and what is included and not included. So just for purposes of ease of math, let's say you have $100,000. And that is what you're going to be comfortable spending. I often joke and say that you don't want to spend more than causes the blood to drain out of your face. So whatever that number is. So for right now, let's take $100,000. That means that you have $50,000 to spend against food and beverage. If you have 150 guests that you're estimating, that means that you have about $333 per person to spend for food and beverage. Awesome, that sounds pretty good. Let's figure out what's included in that $333 so that when you go and look for sites and you ask them how much they cost, you know how to evaluate it. That $333 is going to include the cost for the 1 hour of cocktails, the 4 hours of dinner and dancing, a 5 hour open bar, your wait staff, your rentals, your dishes, your tables, whether they're supplied by the site or you're bringing them in separately. And it will also include your sales tax, which in New York is 8.875%. that will obviously vary every place. And then most places also have something called an administrative fee, and that can vary anywhere from 15 to 24%. And this is something that sites charge you in order to manage and execute your wedding. It is generally not a gratuity, although that's commonly misunderstood, but it needs to be included. So if you take, see if I can do this math in my head, if you take $333 per person, that works out to be about $250 just for the food and beverage, and then that leaves the rest of the amount for the administrative tax, sales tax, and for a gratuity. And then all of those things combined equal the $333 per person. Now, that means that when you start calling sites, you say, what are your packages and where does your package start? And they will tell you, we are $300 a person or we are $200 a person, whatever it is. Know that what that means is it is $200 a person plus plus. And the plus plus is the sales tax and the administrative tax. And the $200 a person that they quote you is going to be their starting price. Now, you might end up spending $250 a person plus plus at that location because you upgrade the wines or you include an extra station or you change out the dessert or you add staff. But that $200 a person plus plus is their launching point for you, and therefore if you have the $50,000 to spend for 150 guests, you know that this is a site that you can consider. That is where this budget becomes really important. You do not want to go to a site that charges $300 a person plus plus, fall in love with it, and then realize you can't possibly afford the band or photographer that you would like. So 50% of your budget goes to food and beverage. That leaves now $50,000 for everything else. So let's talk now about how we divvy up the other $50,000 amongst all the other vendors. And what that means is your band, photographer, florist, transportation, invitations, hair and makeup, etc., etc., etc. It's really important to include even little things like stamps, thank you notes, the marriage license. All those things, it might be $50 here, $100 here, but it's important to allot money for it now so that you don't end up getting really scared at the end because you're several $1,000s over budget. Also, if there's any way for you to put in a little line item for extras at the very end, you will find that really nice because it's almost every couple I know at the very end get really excited about, oh, wouldn't those candles be fun, or wouldn't that signage be neat? And all of a sudden you find little things to spend against, and it's nice to have a little cushion that you can do that with. How you decide to spend against those different vendors really is a very personal decision that the two of you have to decide based on your priorities. There are some couples who could care less about photography and all they care about is the music. And other people feel that, oh my God, photography is the only thing that matters because it's what lasts and it's what we keep for forever. And the music, we can just put a boombox someplace and have that play. So those are very personal decisions that only need to reflect your what's important to you. And you might decide that the band is the most important aspect, so you want to spend a greater percentage of that $50,000 against the band and spend less on photography because you know that all your friends are going to be taking photographs. You're going to make an album yourself off of Blurb, and you don't need to pay a professional photographer. Now, there's issues with making that decision, but that can be your decision. You might also decide that photography is more important and you're going to do a live trio for ceremony and cocktails, but then have a really great wedding DJ for dinner and dancing and save a lot of money that way and put it against a really fine professional photographer. Again, you guys talk about it, you decide what's right for you, and allot a percentage in this budget, and then go out and find vendors that fit that budget. And then as my very, very final note, as I said already, this is your wedding. It is your priorities. It is not your sister's wedding. It's not your parents' wedding. It is not your best friend's wedding, nor is it the wedding that you've seen in a popular bride's magazine. Decide what reflects the two of you as a couple, what you like, and how you live, and let that be your guide. And if you do that, then the wedding will truly be a happy, joyful event. You will spend what you should, and all of your guests are going to be able to share in that joy, and it really will be a perfect wedding. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a little bit about planning a budget, and I'd love for you to follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Check out my website for all the weddings that I've done, and we'll see you next time for more information on planning a joyful wedding.